Hello and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Shachin Prabhat, Vice President of Consulting at Tiger Analytics, a leading provider of data and AI services. There's a problem that's plaguing the enterprises today. Organizations have amassed significant amount of data, and yet many leaders cannot act with confidence. There's this chasm between data and insights. Today, we'll explore why this gap persists, how to fix it, and what does it look like in practice. We have with us Ujjwal Sehgal, Global Head of People Analytics at Mars, and Rachel Belino, HR Data Officer again at Mars, to talk about this very pertinent issue. Ujjwal, Rachel, welcome to the podcast. Ujjwal, I think one of the things that we didn't touch upon yet, but I do believe that's very, very important, is that building any of these solutions, right? The adoption is the biggest challenge, right? I was reading one of the stats that only 2 out of 10, right, implementations, right, of this magnitude actually see the end of the light, and the reason for that is adoption is very low. What challenges have you anticipated or anticipating, right, from the adoption perspective as you are kind of going through your data journey, and what are you doing to address those?
Yeah, I think, again, adoption, if you really start looking at how or why adoption starts failing, right? I think there are a few reasons
Mhm.
that, we've seen in the past, right? Number one, sometimes, from an engineering, data science, or solutioning perspective, we get so caught up in what we are, building that we might, because we live and breathe that, we find it very easy to navigate through the solution. But a brand new user who's probably not as technically savvy
Mm.
as, the development team would be, struggles with it, right? So it becomes very, very difficult for them to really navigate through a solution. So if I have built a dashboard or a BI product, and the user struggles around, what filters do I have to run, what selections do I have to make, it kind of just puts them off in terms of, I don't want to use this, it's so complex, it's very difficult for me to, even get to the answer that I need.
Mhm.
Adoption starts going down, right? So that's one simple thing. Many times the other factor that leads to low adoption is also because of, many times, I need to make decisions quickly, but if I'm not able to get the data in a timely manner, in an easy to read manner, or if I'm not getting an output quickly and at the right time,
Mhm.
again, adoption can be, very, very low, because business has already moved on. I'm
Yeah, the
solving my
data is
next
there.
problem. It's no more, what you're showing me or telling me now is no more relevant, because now I'm, three problems ahead.
Mhm.
So I think that's really where also your adoption starts diminishing it to a great extent. And
Mhm.
then again, the last bit also is making sure, and I know Rachel touched about on this as, one of her roles and responsibilities is to ensure, how do I trust what I'm getting is actually
Mhm.
right, right?
Mhm.
So from a data quality and the accuracy of the data, I think it is very, very important also, because again, these are foundational things, but many times, a lot of analytics teams actually struggle to give the right data, which is clean, usable, and something that the end user can trust, right? So trust leads to adoption. So I think these are things that you want to be very, very you know clear
Mhm.
about. And
Mhm.
then obviously, with the advent of AI now, there's also a lot of, can I actually get insights generated through tools like generative AI? So it helps me to really just fine tune that and
Mhm.
act and take action on it, rather than me trying to run through all the filters, etc., interpreting what the charts, etc., look like, and then, all right, glean those insights out and then give that to the business. By that time, again, there's a lot of time that's gone by. If I can quickly get a lot of those actionable insights through new tech, I think that just leads to higher adoption as well. Because the users are getting a lot of it curated freely and easily for them with the right business context and the contextualization, and it makes it easy, and higher adaptability starts coming in. So these are things that we've learned. I'm sure there are more, and every organization has their own DNA, and their own ways of working, and challenges that they face with adoption. But these are some that we've seen here at Mars, and that's how we've kind of learned through that, and are trying to mitigate some of it.
If I could just add a build to that
Sure,
on
Rachel.
of trust and adoption,
Mm-hmm.
I'll offer a counter viewpoint, which is when it comes to data that is sensitive
Mm-hmm.
and or highly confidential,
Mm-hmm.
there could be a challenge in users trusting that they can put this data to an LLM
Mm-hmm.
to generate content. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a very real problem today, because one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the ability, from a data governance perspective, as well as being in people analytics, is really putting first and foremost the protection of the data.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to sensitive data, I think it's important, and this is probably one of the things that I should have called out when I
Mm-hmm.
talked about what it will take to have an AI ready data platform, or AI ready analytics um,
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
That before you actually give the data over to the LLM, do you
Mm-hmm.
have mechanisms in place to protect the data that you are providing? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's an important concept or principle that
Mm-hmm.
kept in mind, at least consider it as
Mm-hmm.
part of your practice in this space. So, it's important from a trust standpoint, because I people are, our employees are entrusting us, our
Yeah.
associates are entrusting us with the data. We all have a responsibility, and
Mm-hmm.
so therefore, what are the mechanisms that we should be and can and would and will or
Mm-hmm.
have put into place to actually protect it in this world of Gen AI? Because everything's moving so fast, and
Right.
there's a lot of hype out there. So it's always best to take a pause and figure out, do you have security in place? Do you have the guardrails in place? Are you
Mm-hmm.
protecting the data as much as possible?
No, absolutely, and I think trust is one of the fundamental aspect, right? That if not tackled right, can actually lead to a very poor adoption, as usually you highlighted, and Rachel, I think rightly so, especially in the space of people analytics, sorry, people and organization, right, that you guys are leading. It's doubly important, right, to make sure that you are very, very protective of the data that you deal with. Great conversation so far. I think some of the things that I was just noting down, right? I think, and couple of great takeaways, right? Like the way I was thinking about, if we have to bring a solution that addresses some of these problems, right? I think user centricity is the key. I think that is one thing that's coming very, very loudly from both of you. And then kind of working on having a common data model that can ensure that you're not only looking at the point problems and the point use cases, but you are being able to look at the overall arc, right, from end to end, and being able to kind of identify insights at the cusp, if you will. And then also kind of building that context rich data set, right, giving it as much context as possible, so that your agents can actually find meaningful, right, data and the insights from them and serve the customer. And then lastly, having a good semantic layer, right, that can kind of allow good understanding of the data, that can then lead to better solution overall. There's some point that I noted, and again, I think I'm pretty sure our listeners have noted as well. But as we look to kind of close out the conversation, right? Maybe Ujjwal, if you can share what is the guidance that you'll give to those organizations which are starting this journey, right? Just now, right? Where and how they should kind of pursue this pathway, and what are some of the key fundamentals that they should keep an eye on?
No, great question. And, again, I think there's no silver bullet to it, honestly. Every organization, as I mentioned earlier, has their own DNA and their own, evolution that, they have to go through. With someone who's starting new, I think, obviously, having the right type of people is important, right? In terms of the technical capability, the functional capability, the ability for them to truly understand the business and have a grip of it is very, very important. The second is obviously keeping and having your problem statement clearly, truly defined and identified. Many times, we spend more time on the problem statement and the definition of the problem statement than actual the solution development. And the reason is the problem statement definition makes it very easy for us to actually then identify the solution around it. So spend more time on the problem statement. It helps you get more clarity and forces the business also a little bit in terms of thinking through what they're asking for. Have empathy with the end users. I think that's very, very important in terms of just gleaning more information out from a data team perspective. Obviously, again, there are tools, capabilities, technology that's available. Again, identify, and that's where you need the right skills, where you can identify the right tools. And you're not trying to, trying to kill an ant with a cannon. You could just bring a fly swatter and kill the ant, right? So again, that's really where you have to be very, very careful in terms of what tool you're using and how. The last bit, which is very, very important, is also around the storytelling bit. And I know we didn't talk about this, but it's also very important is how do I, once I built a solution, how do I actually tell that story? How do I actually make the users clearly understand what the solution is, how it's really going to help them, and how they need to apply it as well? Many times, you really, or I've seen a lot of projects actually fail because of not having the right story told. People have built the best, analytical solutions, best AI models, but they failed because they've not been able to clearly contextualize and explain that to the end business user. And the end business users are not the statistical technical capable people in many cases, and they struggle. And that's why the ability for you to tell that story in a cohesive and easy to understand manner is very, very important, so that the user clearly knows what and how to use those tools. So again, these are things that anybody starting new or in their journey, I'm sure everybody might be in their journey as well. I'm sure they can take a lot of this and bring your own flavor to it as well. Like I said, there's no silver bullet. Try, experiment. Some things will work, some things won't. And you then can clearly find your sweet spot and figure out this works best in our ecosystem, and then just double down on it and scale it. So that's really where I would recommend how organizations should approach this.
Awesome. No, I think for me, the biggest takeaway was really the pointer on storytelling, because one of the things that I see is that many times focus a lot more on the technology constructs. But the thing is that the ability to tell a good story, right, goes a long way. And data always have to tell a story. Otherwise, there's not really a place for data, right?
Exactly.
And that perhaps is a great note to kind of bridge that gap between the data and the insight, that if we can make the data tell a good story, that good story becomes the insight that the people can then act on.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Well, this was great talking to both you, Ujjwal and Rachel. Thanks for your time. And we're looking forward to kind of collaborate further.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone.